My name is Leo Connors, and welcome to The Ring and All Other Sports. My guest tonight for the 12th time?
12th, 13th, 90th,
12, 13, and one of the new trainers at the NEX-Gen Wrestling Center, my friend Maverick Wild.
Hey, how you doing, Leo?
Not bad. How are you?
Not bad. It's odd actually being on, having something to promote for once.
Yes, this is going to be fun. Before I get into the film, when did you start training there? Why don't you tell us about how it all came about?
Actually, it's more than probably at least about a year-long process.
Okay.
What got the wheels started, I just, every once in a while, I was still going out to shows and to wrestling schools, basically to stay in contact with old friends. But, you know, I've been kind of basically a wrestling shut-in for a decade.
Right.
You know, and, you know, let's face it, you know, I'm not bragging, but people have been saying you should come back in some context.
100%.
Like, I don't know. So I went up to NEX-Gen about a year ago, and it was a weird coincidence. Dijak showed up.
Wow.
And I'm not, you know me, I don't like to drop names.
No, I hear you.
I really don't.
But that's pretty cool.
So then he's, of course, now these guys have an opportunity to ask somebody who's in the struggle, trying to get seen more.
Right.
And he's explaining to them, you know, whether you do it on the level I'm trying to do it, or if you just want to be a career hobbyist, you're really kind of obligated to check all the boxes to really develop as much as you can. Even if you don't want to go where I am, or go further than where I am, you should at least make it look like you wanted to.
Right.
You know, and it kind of struck home. You know, and I'm like, that's the same thing I've been thinking for 30 years, really.
Right.
And really, over the years, I do think, personally, I spent a lot of time checking a lot of boxes.
Right.
You know, I studied a lot of different styles. I was originally trained in almost a little bit of a British style because Brian Walsh had spent a lot of time in England. And then, of course, you know, I've had mentors over the years and things of that nature. I've kind of grabbed the hodgepodge of things, and so it got the wheels turning, and enough people have been bothering me about getting in to do something. And then, of course, there was the lovely things that happened that we don't need to bring up again.
Yes, we've already did that here.
Yeah, it's what happened in Vegas is going to stay in Vegas at this point. So I went up. And I said, you know, I'll go up, and because I was interested, you know, but I kind of, because of the whole Vegas thing, I'm going to stay away from this. I think I told you at one point personally that I was like, I wouldn't train wrestling students on a bet right now. Right. You know. And
then I was glad when you changed your mind.
Apparently somebody bet me because I go up and you know what it was? It was. You know, and this is no offense to Mike and Scott Reed and the guys who had just left.
Yep.
You know, the training had been taken over by G.K. Durante, who's a good guy and a real jack of all trades, and a real unsung hero in this area.
Guy you want on your shows or around your company.
The guy can do anything. You need him to fill in to wrestle, he's going to wrestle, he's going to do fine. Need a ref, he can ring announce, he can promote, he can do all sorts of things.
He is a jack of all trades, like Todd Graham is like
that too. He really is. And between him and Julian Starr, who came in and was doing training, does training earlier in the week with the guys, I believe Monday and Tuesdays, and maybe even Wednesdays. And then with the training they're getting with Bud.
Right.
What I saw when I went in was more of a cooperative effort.
Okay.
More than a lot of wrestling schools and wrestling classes are run very regimented.
Right.
And almost in a militaristic style.
Yes.
And that has its validity and it has its place. But what I saw here is you have a crop of guys that have a massive experience swing. You have guys that have been working on shows for a while. And you have guys that are ready to work on shows. And you have guys that are raw and green. And
that need a lot of work.
So instead of constantly being separated, okay, you're the beginner class.
Right.
You're the experienced class. And there has to be some of that. But still, there was some mixing, and everybody was looking after everybody else. And guys have mental hang-ups and little things. And guys, there'd be like 3 or 4 guys. All right, I'm on this side. I'm on this side. Let's see what you're doing wrong. Why isn't that working? And I was like, I can work like that. I really can. So I went up there that first night, and So I figured, I'll work with the inexperienced guys. I won't have to impress anybody. Right away, Bud goes, hey, why don't you get in there with all the experienced guys? And I didn't use this finger.
Right. Right.
But I was like, oh, come on, Bud.
Yeah.
I just walked in here. But all of a sudden, I started working fairly smoothly, a little clunky, but, and they're hanging on every word I'm saying. God help them. And
But they know, Mav. You have the experience.
but it starts to work,
Right.
And I came back the next week,
Yeah.
and people start getting a little more used to my obnoxious and somewhat flamboyant stylings.
I was gonna say brash, maybe.
Brash, that's a good way to put it,
Yep.
But when I came in here this morning, and when I came in here tonight, I told you I just lost my job actually about a week and a
I
half
was
ago.
very shocked.
And so
Like I'm sure you were.
yeah, I was pretty shocked. It's the first time it's ever happened to me. But wrestling is really the only thing I've ever felt I have almost complete control over.
Right.
And I've been lacking that for a long time, really.
Right.
And I'm coming into this now, and I see there's a group of students that could. They're getting all the good technical training. Don't get me wrong. I mean, that's great, and that used to be a terrible thing in this area, or every area, where the technical training for some guys was miserable.
Right.
But now sometimes you get a swing where they don't have any fluidity to what they do, and I was noticing that, and I was like, they're starting to know how to wrestle.
Yeah.
They don't know how to dance, and that's kind of what I stress.
Yeah.
The
Nice.
smoothness,
Right.
how to move around, how to, and I really like providing that kind of lesson.
Nice. All right. Now let's get into some fan questions.
Sure.
All right. First fan question from Andy Miller. I don't know if you know Andy. Great guy. Who were your favorite wrestlers growing up?
That would be, my favorite tag team was Tony Gurria and Rick Martel.
Great
That was
team. Great 80s.
Yeah, that was the first thing. Them and the Moondogs.
Yep.
The Moondogs never got any respect. Those were damn good matches. I
those
love
Moondogs
Those are my favorites. Bob Backlund initially was my favorite.
Yep.
Then as I learned, it's like, well, maybe he's not quite my favorite, but I love Bob Backlund though. Roddy Piper. The Briscoes. I love the Briscoes.
Oh, Jerry and Jack, yeah.
I tend to like, as goofy as I can be, I tend to like the more technical-based wrestlers. I really do, because really those guys are basically in my size range as well, and I always tried to wrestle like that.
Right.
So that's kind of who I like. Greg Valentine. I love Greg Valentine.
He came up here so many times for Jeff, so you must have loved
I
that.
loved wrestling him. Oh,
That's awesome. All right. He has a second question. What made you want to be a wrestler?
there were a couple of things. I think we've gone over this
we
before.
have.
But really what it was, I was watching it on TV, and then, I start kind of picking it apart. And then my brother was in a massive car accident, and then, so he's in his hospital bed, and he was a massive wrestling fan.
Right.
And,
Bigger than you?
at the time, yes.
Wow.
Oh, easily. He's the one who first got me interested.
Right, okay.
But he's sitting there in his hospital bed. My parents don't know what to do with him. This is the mid-'80s. Wow. It's not like we have an internet or anything at that point. So they went and they bought him all these wrestling magazines. Well, they were wrestling magazines, but they weren't East Coast centric. This was all over the country and in some portions of the world. So we're opening this magazine up, and the first thing we see is Carlos Colon busted open with Abdul the Butcher. I was like, I didn't see that on Channel 9. Wow.
Exactly.
And that's really what started. It was like, when I started looking at it, it was like, there's a whole bunch of different ways to do this.
Yeah.
And I
So
think I
it was
like
the
some of these different
magazines.
ways. Yeah, it really
That's
was.
was me. I was a magazine
Yeah,
kid.
it really was.
And back then, even in the 80s, you could go to a store and if they had wrestling magazines, they'd have 7, 8, 9 magazines. Now you can barely find any.
And even when I was still wrestling, I would honestly do things in the ring.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, I would base them on how would this look in a magazine if somebody took a picture of it. No, really, I'm dead serious.
Right. That's cool. We're both Cornet guys, and that's how he came into wrestling, taking pictures.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Actually, it's not a question. It's what I told you off air. Brian Nato, thank you for commenting, Brian. Holy shit. Turbo Tim Walker. And then we talked a little bit, and then he said, I wrestled him a bunch of times.
Yeah, yes, he did.
Did Tim like his matches with Brian, do you know?
Brian, I love you. You had the worst endurance out of any wrestler I think I've ever met in my entire life. He would gas out so quick. He had asthma, I believe, if I remember correctly, which did not help. He would gas out. Eventually, he got to the point where he'd go 10 minutes, and it wasn't too bad. Brian was in the ring with me when I did probably one of the grossest spots I've ever done in my entire life. So he was not Turbo Tim Walker at that point. He was doing some American gimmick. So it was a 3-way match. Brian's in there as the Rhino. He's got a Rhino mask on.
Yeah.
You know, and then I'm in there with Tim, and Tim's doing the old 10 punches in the corner to me. I hate that. I hate the 10 punches because I think it's kind of hacky. So it
was a big spot though, huh? Back then though, it really was. Everybody did it.
I put an end to that. I simulated I was biting his genitals.
Okay, all right then.
Yeah.
Well, now he does, like when Sheldon runs, Brian works with Sheldon, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's where I thought I knew him from.
Yes.
Okay.
He does a lot of production work.
Oh, nice.
Sheldon,
okay.
Yeah.
Andrew Crane.
Yes.
What is the greatest lesson? I like this question a lot. What is the greatest lesson you can pass on to your students? Thank you, Andrew. That's a great question.
That wrestling is not you and him separate.
Right.
You have to work together to make these matches work correctly.
Yeah.
Like
you said, dance.
All too often I see guys that get in the ring and they go to do things to each other and they barely touch each other. That's a problem because you have to learn to cooperate with the other guy because some of the things you do in the ring, they depend on the other guy basically muscling you up and doing it in a safe manner. And if you basically try to jump to avoid contact all the time or try and take your own bump all the time, you're going to get hurt, like really bad, you know? And I know they do it. I know people do that at a sense of, I don't want to hurt anybody, where they're trying to avoid basically heavy contact with each other, really throwing each other around. But the truth of the matter is when you're working with somebody and they're actively working with you, the cooperative effort is a lot less likely to hurt you. And it makes for a much better match. It really does.
Nice. I got to ask you one thing. You know what I noticed a lot of wrestlers are doing now? This one-legged drop kick. Have you seen that?
I do it.
I mean, I just don't think it's very good. It doesn't look good, is what I'm saying. Like the standard regular drop kick looks so much better.
Not to reveal too much, but the trick to that, doing it that way, is, and a lot of bigger guys do it, and I actually did it up at the gym last week because my knees are shot.
Right.
But the trick is plant on this foot, swing up and bring this leg up, but you're supposed to do it with both feet. Once this leg comes up, that one's supposed to go with it.
Right, okay.
I just told everybody I'd do a wrestling move. Sorry, bud, you can't charge for that one.
All right, next question is from Ryan Brown. I don't even know if this is really a question. Maverick Wild is always a great guest. My question is, how would one go about getting into the business as a manager? As always, Leo, I love the show, been doing a lot for me lately by watching. Brian hit me up the other day and just told me that he's been going through some stuff, and watching the show has helped him. Well, I'm glad I can help, Brian.
Okay. Well, the unfortunate truth is you really should just go to wrestling school.
Right.
They will show you what you need to know and what you need to do. Now, sometimes managers kind of backdoor their way in through more than wrestlers do. I mean, we were just talking about Jim Cornette. Jim Cornette obviously backed in through doing photography in Tennessee. And so did Paul Heyman, as a matter of fact.
In New York, yes.
Yeah, and there's other instances of it. And that's a case of photographers turning like good, and then you got cases like Dr. Mike Lano. You ever heard of him?
Yeah, I've heard a lot of crap about that guy.
He takes some pictures. He offers free dental services to wrestlers. He may not actually be a dentist.
Is that in California, right?
So so that can be kind of weird. The surest bet is to hit up a reputable wrestling school. I mean, there's one right in Manchester. And,
Yes, there is.
Yeah, so you come up.
And you have a manager training there.
Yeah, we have two actually right now.
Edgar Arthur Stevens.
Yes, that's Roadhouse.
Roadhouse, and who's the other one? I probably know who it is.
I don't remember his name.
All right.
I apologize. He hasn't been there as much when I'm there. Roadhouse is always there.
Right. He just worked the show, I think, too.
Yeah, poor Roadhouse. Me and him are trying to figure out, all right, what do you want to do with this?
Right. Now, was that at APW he worked the other night?
Yeah.
Good for him, man. That's awesome.
He's a very intelligent man.
Yeah, he's a big guy, too.
He's huge.
Yeah,
he's
big
huge.
guy. I don't do the concessions there, so I don't get to see some of these guys, you know what I mean? And it's good for him. I'm glad to see more managers. We need more managers.
Yeah.
I believe that. Some guys just are very scared on the mic, and it's great to have a guy that can do that for you.
So what I will add to this, though, is I've always found that when you are training managers, it's almost impossible to do it exclusively in a gym setting.
Right.
You need to get them on live shows sometimes with experienced guys. It sounds counterproductive, but you take an inexperienced manager and you actually put it with an experienced wrestler.
Right.
And he guides him through what he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
And if he's any good, that's when he'll start picking up. It's hard to do it in a school because a manager needs the genuine reactions. He doesn't have the athleticism to back it up. All he's got is live reaction, as far as I'm concerned.
And I saw a little bit of his promo from, I think they were doing it from, he was on the stage, but he was like, the camera was on the side. I thought he did pretty well, really.
No, he did okay.
Yeah.
Actually. He's not bad.
So good for you, Roadhouse? Roadhouse. Yeah, it's a lot easier to say than his real name.
Yeah, I know.
All right. Kid V. Favorite hair dye?
Good Lord. Not his.
Not red, right?
Not his. All right. Kid V, listen, Jay, you're a nice guy, all right, and you're very talented.
Yes.
He picks up things very quickly when I show him them. That hair dye, though, all right, it's already been in the washing machine twice. My wife is very mad at you. She's going to take it out of your hide. You're in trouble, all right?
You better run, Jay. You better run. All right, so it's not his. Dave Fournier, what advice would you give someone who is interested in joining the wrestling school?
Well, contact me or Bud or Julian or GK if it's our school specifically.
Right.
On a wrestling school in general. The other reason I'm jumping into this is because I think certain people learn better with certain techniques.
Right.
Some people are going to learn better regimented. Some people are going to learn better boom, 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 boom. And then some people are going to learn better when it's almost like more like an art class.
Okay.
Where we're
molding it.
Yeah, really just picking it apart and getting into the nitty-gritty, working specifically on guys' problems rather than hitting it, this is what we do every night, this is what we do every night, this is what we do every night. We do some of that, but that's not what we do every night.
Right.
We see guys that have problems, and we take them aside, and we work on them.
Right.
Either Bud will take them aside when I'm there, or I'll have Bud take over one ring, and I'll take the guy aside, and I'll start working on just little problems he may have.
Right.
And generally, they're mental blocks. They're not stupid.
Thinking problems.
Yeah, thinking problems.
Yeah.
I got one guy, Donnie. You throw him around, he can take every bump in the world.
Yeah.
You hit him, and he has to take his own, and he doesn't land right because he has more faith in everybody else around him than himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
All
that's a thing we got to break him of.
Yes. Thanks for the question, Dave. Tommy O'Donnell. I know you used to work with him, right?
When I first broke in, yes, Tommy.
Okay. Can you ask him if he still runs old school drills?
Well, yeah, because those be the only ones I know. I mean, what else am I going to do? Are you going to do the newfangled stuff, or am I going to do what I know how to do?
Right.
Honestly, Tommy, I do, but I modify them to some degree. It just there's a different pace with the guys now. What I will say is the principles are still the same as when me and you were smashing each other over the head 30 plus years ago, Tommy. It just, it's sped up a little. And I have to make the drills kind of reflect that to some degree.
Right.
And I don't drill heavily anyways, but, there is usually one a night.
Okay. All right, well, I'm going to finish. He said something else. Okay. Very proud of Mav. He's definitely one of a kind. One of my favorites I've ever worked with on this continent. What was his working name?
He worked as Tommy Morton and a couple of different names, like the Heartthrob Tommy Morton. He worked in Canada. There was,
wow! I should get him on the show then, huh?
Yeah. At one point, he actually worked up at, I believe it was Whipper Watson Jr.
Oh, wow.
Was running
Billy
shows.
Watson.
Yeah, so his son was
Yeah.
running shows, and he was doing it basically with junior heavyweights up in Canada.
Right.
So like a bunch of the New Bedford guys ended up going up there, and I think it was like, I think they were like week-long tours.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Tommy, I'm going to definitely hit you up. Matthew McGee. You know Matthew? Freight train. I like to do
Okay,
this.
yes.
Not that freight train.
Okay, that's fine.
It's a different freight train.
Right.
How do you get to young people who want to fly around but really need to settle down and learn the basics? Do you have a lot of guys that want to just, instead of working their way to that?
I currently have an advantage in that situation as the ceilings are too low in the class right now.
Right.
So there's only so much they're going to fly around.
Okay.
Secondarily, I'm old. You know some of the people that have trained me. I was certainly taught how to ground somebody when they need to be grounded. I certainly know how to nail somebody's feet to the floor when it needs to be nailed to the floor. But at the same time, I don't think you want to completely discourage that either.
Right.
You want it to be broader. You want them to do those things and work that way when it makes sense.
Yes.
And that's what we teach. It's not so much holding them down. It's more, this is when you do this. This is when you do this.
Right.
This is when you do this. It's not all the time, which is unfortunately what some people do think. I don't have a massive problem with that at the gym.
No?
I really don't.
Okay.
No.
So everybody's pretty much, you like to let them try to make their own little things.
Well,
you know what I mean? Well,
you can't, especially for the guys that are already working shows, you can't cut them off at the knees creatively. You can't. You can guide it.
Yep.
You can kind of try and help them, which is also why, as part of the training, I'm only running class one night a week, but I'm also trying to get to the shows as much as possible.
To give them
the guys
some criticism or critique. Not, critique.
Yeah, I try and save the criticism for the guys that aren't my students.
Yeah.
No, I'm only kidding. Hey, hey, Mav, what'd you think of that match? Do you go to school with me? No, I didn't think of it at all.
Listen, I know we know Kid V is a trainee at your school.
Yes.
What about this other guy that I'm pretty impressed with, Monty Aries?
Monty Aries is, I don't have to yell and scream. He does it. Monty is so goddamn intense, right? And so I'm also trying to come back as a wrestler, which we could probably get into at some point. You didn't know that?
You're gonna wrestle again?
We'll talk about that in a minute. We'll see. So, anyways, I'm trying to get in the ring with these guys and do things. And so the last guy's, well, how do you hold these guys down? Well, the problem is I can't even hold myself down.
Right.
So I'm in the ring and I'm flying around, and I'm good 265 pounds at this point. I don't know. I come flying at Monty, and he catches me, and I'm a load to hold up there. I really am.
I hear he's strong.
He's got me like I'm nothing.
Right.
He's tossing me around. Like,
That's awesome.
holy God. It was just, he's so intense and strong. And he's so intense, and he comes off as, this will be the one time I swear, and it's pretty mild. He comes off as such a badass that then all of a sudden you don't see, wow, we can actually get in there and do some things too. We really can.
Yeah, he's impressed me a lot.
Yeah.
I've seen him probably work like 6 times, and there wasn't one that I was like, ooh, like, you know what I mean? Every match that he had, he didn't take big risks.
No.
Like for instance, I had Johnny Pierce on last night. And I didn't bring it up, and I'm not afraid to talk about it. He was in a battle royal that he won, but he went to do like that side slam.
Yeah.
And he didn't hit it. Other than that, he did great.
Yeah.
But like I haven't seen Monty make even like one little mistake in the 5 or 6 matches I've seen of him. In each match, he seems to get better. Same as Kid V.
That's also they're both guys that actually, when you tell them you need to slow down now, they don't think you're just some old jerk telling, hey kid, you gotta slow down.
They listen to you because
they're
know.
listening, you know. And again, that's part of the reason I'm kind of trying to train to come back to wrestling, because I want them to see this is how this works,
And I think, and I know they team a little bit as the neighborhood,
which they
I think got a lot of potential as a tag team, and there's a lot of tag team wrestling going on in New England right now.
you got to realize I see it firsthand. The
Yeah.
development. There is a lot of potential there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think they've teamed a couple of times. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
where, but I'm pretty sure they have.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Up in Maine for Larry
Okay.
and NAWA.
Great, Larry.
And
What's up again, Larry?
APW and
Yep.
a couple other places.
That's awesome. Like I said, both kids have, really impressed me quite a bit. All right. Can you take us through a night of training?
Yeah, that's not too
Beautiful.
hard.
All right.
So I get there between 4:15 to almost 5 o'clock. It's a long ride. Manchester's about an hour and a half from my house. So what happens usually is Bud's already been in the ring warming everybody up.
Okay.
One of the reasons I don't do drills is because basically they're pretty much, as far as physical moving drills, they've
Right.
already done that by the time I got there. And I'll still put it through one or two. But
Is that how it starts? You do some not
Yeah.
ring work, but like calisthenics and stuff?
more like, running the ropes 20 times,
Okay.
sliding out of the ring, all stuff meant to aid your motion
Okay.
and how you move in a wrestling ring. Then when I come in, I will either just set up, all right, we're going to do matches. I usually don't do that first.
Right.
Usually what I'll do is, all right, we're going to get in here and we're going to work on not a specific move, but all right, we're going to go over the psychology and how you work somebody's leg. Okay.
Yeah.
And which is kind of a long lesson
Yep.
because it gets into wrestling theory. But we'll get into, all right, this is how you work a leg and how you stay on it and how you keep the guy alive.
Right.
It's more than the moves. I'm not
Yep.
just in there teaching moves. And then after that, then I'll actually probably, all right, now it's time to go into the Maverick's weird banking of memory of moves. And
Okay.
then I'm going to go, all right, let's do this. Let me show you this. And then, I have a couple of weird ones. When in doubt, I can whip out some of the strange stuff I've done over the years.
Right.
And they'll go, I've never seen that before. It's good. I'm a genius. But and then usually after that, then I break off into matches. Last time
Okay.
we broke off into tag team matches because some of the guys need work on being a heel in a tag team,
Right.
and just the general theory of it all.
Nice.
And that's kind of how it goes. And then we wrap up, and I tell bad jokes, and yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, before these guys, this set where you're at now,
Yeah.
can you tell us some of the guys you trained in the past?
Yeah, I mean, that's so Tony Spencer. And I apologize to everybody.
Yeah.
But
That's all right. It's all right. Tony's a good guy. He is.
so that's the thing. I did train people. Usually when I had my own gym, it was almost nobody came from the ground up. I
Okay.
always got them from other places, and then I would work on what I perceived to be their weaknesses.
Right.
So
I mean, you had your hand in like a little bit Fury.
Brian
a little
Fury
on you?
initially,
Yeah.
really early on. I
Right.
don't want to really take credit for
No,
Brian.
I'm just, I'm not even saying like you trained them from start to finish. Just some of the guys you've worked with. You
No,
helped a little bit
like,
along the way.
who I've helped over the years. is,
Yeah.
I hope they don't get mad at me for saying it, but I think probably like Antonio Thomas would say I helped him out quite a bit over the years.
Yeah.
Probably Dr. Heresy would probably say I helped him out over the years.
Yeah.
Again, I don't want to name drop, but I don't know. There's a few guys on TV that might say, yeah, Maverick really taught me a few things here
Right.
over the years.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. But
Nice.
but there's been probably a couple dozen local guys and stuff like that.
Right.
Guys, some people have never even heard of. Tim Walker, I did some of his training.
Right.
Again, these were guys that were either brought in through Jeff,
Right.
and the training was spread around. And then like really only Tony Spencer would be the only one
From start to finish.
from start to. There's a few others, but that's the only one I remember. The only
Okay.
one stuck with it because, like I said, I didn't run a wrestling school. I ran a gym,
Right.
and I got guys for the most part that were already
Yeah.
at least halfway through their training.
Okay. Is there anyone you wish that you didn't train?
Well, I didn't primarily train him, but I wish I could disavow any involvement with a skunk.
Yes.
Yes. I don't need that on my resume.
No, definitely not. All right. Who are you most proud of? And I mean, this could even be, Mav, someone like, that is younger than you, that you've seen on a lot of shows, and you just, we're proud of how the kid came about. Is there anybody?
Tony Spencer.
Yeah.
You know why? Because no, he's never gonna burn the world down with his wrestling.
But he can
ability.
work.
But not only, it's not just that he can work. He probably has no problem telling you he was very untalented towards the physical end of things.
Okay.
And I've never seen anybody stick with it so long.
Right.
And then he did finally put together enough physical acumen to have a manageable, a decent
Right.
match.
Yep.
And then when you combine it with his mouth and you let him do
Right.
his mic work and stuff,
He's
then you
good
have
on
something.
that.
Then
He's
he has
really,
something
really
very
good.
effective.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm proud of him because he's stuck with it. And you know, a lot of that involved very old-fashioned training.
Right,
You know,
right.
because we had to go, bare bones with him. So.
Yep.
I might have, pulled his neck one way and his head the other, and
Right.
I might have, bit his toes in matches and just kept him on it, and been a little generally rough on him, to be
Right.
frank with you. But he stuck, he stayed with it, and I'm proud of him.
In my opinion, too, like how you said G.K. Durant, and I brought up Todd Graham,
Yeah.
right? Tony's like that, though. He could be an asset to your company. He can ring announce.
Yeah, exactly.
He can referee. He can wrestle. He can manage. You know what I mean? He can take tickets at the door. He can do anything.
Yeah.
He is a jack of all trades.
He is.
And that's my one Tony Spencer compliment for the show. I actually, I really like Tony.
Yeah.
I've become a fan of his,
Yeah.
if you want to say, and I like to consider him somewhat of a friend.
Yeah.
Even though he was here one time trying to be a wise guy and like hit me with a shoe, and he friggin' hit me with a shoe, and I didn't sell it. You'd be proud of me. I did not sell it, and I didn't tell him for like a year. And I said, when you hit me with that hurt. He goes, oh, I'm sorry. I said, I no sold it though. How long did it take you to be fully trained and start wrestling? I mean, like where you knew you had it.
I don't consider myself fully trained now.
Really?
I'm
Okay.
dead serious.
All right.
I'm learning as much from these guys that I'm wrestling, that I'm training, as they're learning from me. That really is.
I think you've told me before that anyone can, in wrestling, anyone can learn from anyone. You can take a guy, like, a 20-year vet, let's say, and he can learn something from a guy wrestling 2 years.
See, one of the things I hate in wrestling are these guys that come over, I can work with the broomstick.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? You want to work with a broomstick, put it in your bum and sweep the ring, okay? These are not broomsticks you're wrestling.
Right.
These are people.
Yes.
Okay? And I am sorry. I have always thought that almost everybody you get in the ring with has something.
Right.
There's something there. And if you're an experienced wrestler, it's your job to go find it and bring it out of them.
Right.
That doesn't make them a broomstick,
Right.
okay? It doesn't mean you have a bit of a talent for bringing out, maybe somebody, maybe other people look at this guy, there's nothing there, and
Right.
then you find it. Does that mean you have a special talent? Maybe. I know I was always proud of it when I could do
Right.
it,
Right.
But, that's, I got off subject a little.
That's
but
all right.
I just, what were you talking about again?
It was, how long did it take for you to be trained fully?
So early, I started really early on after my
Right.
lessons. I was probably wrestling matches within about 2.5 months.
Wow. Yep.
I learned very quickly, bump sell. I could
Right.
bump and sell like a maniac. I've always been able to do it. I still can, evidently. So,
Well, just be careful out there. I want to see you healthy.
nah.
You know what I mean? Well, I know one thing I want to do. 'Cause I'm sure a lot of people didn't hear this story on one of your episodes, but I
Okay.
really would love for you to tell the story of your match with Kevin Sullivan.
Oh, Jesus.
That thing, I've seen it many times, but like that night you told the story, I went and watched it, and I laughed the whole time because thinking of what,
You know, maybe this is good because I don't like to tie up my classes by telling guys stories.
Right.
So maybe here they can get it. All right. So in case anybody who doesn't know, that one of the very few notable things I ever did in professional wrestling was I got flown down to a Nitro in Jackson, Florida.
Okay.
Jacksonville, Florida.
Yep.
Okay. Now, the first thing I noticed, I get on the plane, there's Brian Walsh is on the plane with me,
wow.
and a couple other guys, and one other guy from the area.
Yeah.
And Rick Fuller was down there. He was working with Ice Train.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, and we're going there, and I'm like, there's like a list of matches, and his name isn't on it. And I'm like, well, why would they fly him all the way from Boston?
Yeah.
Because when I got there, what I found out was I was working with Kevin Sullivan, but they had just brought in Jacqueline.
Yeah.
And they were trying to do the China thing with Jacqueline. Now, the only difference was China, I don't believe, hadn't hit any of the guys on TV yet.
Right.
So WCW is trying to beat him to the punch, literally.
Yeah.
So I got on to Jacksonville, Florida, and they tell me what I'm doing. And so I'm pretty old school, right?
Yeah.
You want me to take bumps for the woman? I'll be right back. I literally got on a payphone to my friend and mentor, Jeff Costa. I was like, Jeff, what are you, nervous? You calling me? I'm not nervous. Well, what's wrong? They want me to take bumps for the girl. He's like, oh, Jesus Christ. Every time they give you a look, they got to do something to you. He's like, well, you got to do it. You're there. I'm like, no, I don't. I got a credit card. I'll go buy a plane ticket and come home.
Yep.
He's like, you can't do that. So he talked me into staying,
Right.
He talked me into staying. And WCW was as much of a mess as you've ever heard about. At least it was that night.
Right.
I mean, they were literally like, nobody knew who the first match was supposed to be. You got live TV. Nobody know who the first match was.
Did they write it on the fly sometimes?
I think I've told you before. They had stock guys like Benoit, Malenko, Guerrero, and a few other guys. And I honestly think they would come to the matches, they'd come to the show that night, not having matches. And they'd be throwing the show together at the last minute. Oh my God, we need more time. Malenko and Benoit, get out there. Give me 10 minutes.
Right.
Like stretching the show so they're finalizing. Because everybody's showing up late. Everybody, So, anyways, I don't know. I've been at this for a while, right? So, they're nervous about this coming off right. So I've been talked to about doing this thing now, doing this one match, which is about 5 minutes, if that, and I've done plenty of jobs on TV. I know what I'm supposed to do, So they keep coming over and bothering me, and it's like, oh yeah, she's gonna, he's gonna beat you, he's gonna beat you up, and get you like this, and I'm gonna throw you out, and then she's gonna beat you up, and then she's gonna throw you back in, and then and I'm gonna be stiff as hell to you, and then I'm gonna throw you back out, and then she's gonna clothesline you, and then she's gonna throw you back in. And I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever,
Right.
So like 5-6 people have already talked to me about this stupid thing, and I was like, all right, listen, I almost got on a plane and left, okay?
Right.
I have decided I am going to do this, okay?
Right.
Stop haunting me.
Yeah, if you keep haunting me, I am going to use my credit card.
It gets even better. I get called into a side room with Doug Dillinger, the head of security, Arn Anderson, I think Terry Taylor was there, Kevin Sullivan, Jacqueline. Wow. There's like 5 or 6 people. This is 3/4 of the booking committee. And they're like, no, Arn Anderson, who I love, right?
Yeah.
He comes up to me and goes, "Now, kid, I know this sucks, I said, and what an arrogant jerk I came across as that night. I literally put my hand up and shushed Arn Anderson.
Wow.
Oh, wait a minute. All right, I've been doing this a while. They're all looking at me like,
Yeah.
first I get in the ring with him and he
This
beats
is
me
the part
up,
I love
right?
because you told me.
Yeah. And then he throws me in the ring and she beats me up for a little while, right? Yeah. And then she throws me back in the ring and he beats me up for a little while. And you throw me back out of the ring and she beats me up for a little while, clotheslines me, throws me back in the ring, and you get that shit squeezer stomp on, and that's it, right? Yeah. What are we talking about here? And I think I went up to the ring, and I think, like, you could tell Jacqueline, who, women really weren't having many national opportunities at that point. You could tell she wanted this to go over, and, I don't blame her, But I honestly, I think I saw Kevin Sullivan go, he's like, yeah, he's right. This is stupid.
That's awesome. Now, was that her? I think that was her debut with him, right?
It was. It was a live debut. That was the other thing.
Okay.
So I noticed also that Doc Dean from England and Robbie Brookside from England were both over.
Oh, wow.
and they were friends with Brian Walsh because they knew each other from working over there. And I really think they brought all these guys in and they sat there and did nothing in case somebody said no. No, which I almost did. You know, they almost had to do it, you know.
She's pretty tough.
Oh, yeah. She goes to pick me up at one point outside the ring.
Yeah.
And she had the big, long fingernails, and one of them slid under my eyelid, and I started bleeding.
Really?
So if you looked at the tape, I think it's after the second time I was thrown out of the ring. I'm in the ring, and I'm holding my hand over my eye because blood's not allowed on TBS.
Right.
And if you've ever seen how they used to do it, if they saw blood on TBS, they would just take the camera and put it pretty much in the bathroom.
Right.
You'd see these two little stick figures going out in the ring.
Wow. I just met Jacqueline last August.
Really?
Yeah. And at that gathering thing, I go with Damon, and Dave Forney came with us.
Yeah.
Small.
Yeah.
No, but I mean,
short.
like for work, she's like.
She slammed me, almost posted on the top of her head.
Like no body, you know what I mean, like definition anymore. Like you could never, looking at her, you'd never, ever know she wrestled. Ever.
She's probably a very nice woman.
She was very nice.
I really think she should send me the plating off of her Hall of Fame award.
That'll work. You know who else I met that night? These hotties, the glamour girls. Leilani Kai and I know what's
Leilani Kai and Judy Martin.
Judy Martin, thank you.
And I am friends with them on Facebook, and they look like the toughest bingo moms you'd never want to screw with.
Yeah.
They really do. You know, and I if somehow it ever gets back to them, it is a compliment, believe it or not. You know.
That's awesome. I made a post on Facebook when I took a picture. I'm like, look at these hotties. They were so nice. And I was talking to them. There was really nobody there at the time. And just talked to them about the matches. I knew of them. And Leilani Kai knew a little bit more about.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I thought she was attractive, most likely, probably. You know, so I got more excited to read about her. But they were a hell of a tag team.
Yeah. I mean, they dropped the Jumping Bomb Angels from Japan and them and said, good luck, and they worked fine with them.
Oh, yeah. And they worked in Japan for years,
yes,
too.
Yes, they did, yeah.
Yes, they did. All right. You got like 15 minutes left. What do you want to talk about?
I don't know. Well, I just told you I was coming back to wrestling.
Let's go. We'll go there.
Apparently you didn't know about that.
No, I did not know that. And when did you decide this, and why did your wife say it's okay?
Because my wife has a large disability death and dismemberment policy.
Oh, there we go. All right, then.
She's hoping to cash in on, I think. No. Like I said, I've been too much of a shut-in for, about 10 years. So now I'm at the school, and like I said, creative juices are starting to get going at this point. It's like now it's been about 4 months, and I'm starting to really kind of get into it. And then, of course, I've had to go in the ring and say, all right, no, you don't take the bump this way, you take the bump that way.
Right.
And I've had to do some of that. And I was like, well, I can still take a bump, and I can still survive. And all right, now I have to show them how to do this move. So now I have to move a little. And it didn't kill me too bad. So then gradually I started doing more and more in the ring. And I was like, you know what, if I lose about 45 pounds, I think I could still do this,
Wow.
I may be completely wrong.
Right.
I may never end up having a match.
Right.
But I'm going to try. And another part of the reason I'm trying that is because, like I said before, we have an experience range that is pretty vast at the school right now.
Right.
So I can kind of sequester the more experienced guys and give them the knowledge that I have.
Right.
And then sometimes I work with the more inexperienced guys. And I've just kind of come to the conclusion that and they're good, but everybody has their mental blocks when they first start off.
Right.
Well,
and everybody learns differently.
So I'm looking at it like it's a triangle.
Okay.
Here's the base. They're over on that side of the base.
Yep.
And I'm on that side of the base. They're trying to work their way up to the triangle to the top of it so they can work matches.
Right.
I'm trying to regain muscle memory and remember how to work matches and working on my skills.
Right.
So as we do that, we're all headed towards the middle.
Yeah.
We're all headed towards the same point.
Right.
I'm at a different starting point. I need to learn not how to learn how to do this again, but I need to learn how my body can do this at this point because
because it can't be the same as it used
no,
to
because
be. Right.
and there's some embarrassing things. I don't think a lot of wrestling trainers will expose themselves to, okay, we're going to try this, and then they screw it up and they have to be able to laugh it up.
Yeah.
But like I have trouble doing simple things like forward rolls.
Yep.
Because one shoulder's all plastic and steel.
Right.
The other one needs to be.
Well, that's why I didn't know you were trying to be a wrestler. I didn't even think you would.
Yeah. So there's certain things I'm gonna have to change the way I do, and I can't really land heavily on my knees anymore, which kills me because I used to have a hell of a knee drop. But I'm learning to work with what I have.
Right.
But that's what working is. It's not. Working isn't getting all good stuff and making it good. Being a good worker is having it all thrown on you.
Right.
The good, the bad, the middling, and figuring out something to do with it. And if you can do that the majority of the time, you're a good worker. And again, that's what we're doing.
Right.
Right now, I've got a few that are right here. They're almost ready for matches.
Right.
But they want to get to the point right here where they know they're ready for matches. And they've trained with a guy that's gone up with them. And it's a guy that knows the same challenges they have. He has all the knowledge they want, but he's having some of the same challenges they are.
Right.
So when we work together, that's exactly what we do. I'm not just showing them, this is how you do a body slam. Right. This is how you put your feet. What I'm showing them is, this is how we train other people. This is how we make other people better.
Right.
And you have to do it with me as well as me doing it with you. And that's probably the biggest reason why I decided to come back to it.
Did the guys know that you were thinking about?
Yeah. Yes, they do. In fact,
so
me, I get I get online and I make declarations. But I follow them when I make them.
Right.
That's why I do it. It's a way of holding my feet to the fire. So they know I'm coming back at it. And in fact, so when I did announce when I was coming back, I'm surprised you didn't actually hear it. So it was.
I haven't been on as much.
So I actually just said, and I addressed it, publicly, and I just said, hey, Project Mav starts tomorrow night, because I was going up to the school next Thursday night. Well, Bud loves media. Bud loves taping things. So now he came up with the idea. Well, the hell with it. It's Project Mav. We're going to start taping it. We're going to start when you're in the ring, when you're working, when you're the results of after when you're working. Well, yeah, it sounds awesome. He's got footage of me crawling out of the ring and almost suffocating because I'm so out of breath.
Right.
But you got to show that.
Want to give it a try.
But you got to show that.
Right.
Because
exactly.
I always wanted to learn from humans. I didn't want to learn from monoliths.
Right. Like I said to you, man, I really am impressed with Bonnie and Kid V. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I saw that promo that Edgar at the Roadhouse did, and I really thought it was awesome. Mm-hmm. I was like, wow. If you didn't know, like if I didn't know him and someone said he's been doing it for like 3 years, I would have been like, cool, because I thought he did it just as good as almost anybody. Yeah. He really did. I was impressed. I've never met him yet, so I need to get him on the show.
Bud gets a lot of the credit for that because Bud works a lot on the guy's media work.
Right.
Steven's good at it. Or if it's Stefan, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, Steven. Kid V's really good at it.
Yeah. And he's got quirkiness.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. And he's got that red dye that gets on my clothes. Yeah.
Well, there was another kid that was training at Nepwar. I don't know if you had seen him in the past, but his name was Cicero. He was like a jester.
No.
He killed it. He decided to walk away from wrestling. I actually hit him up recently. He didn't answer me. I would love to just have him on the show. Yeah. But I loved the character. He went all in. That.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
But we're starting to get more trainees at the gym at this point.
It's good.
Getting guys from around the area. There's I'm gonna butcher his name.
Sorry, good. I do everybody's.
Jorah Jral, I think it is.
Jorah
Jral. Yeah.
Robo.
Yes, Robo.
Yes. That's what. Yeah. Once I say Jorah Jral and it doesn't really sound, I just go back to
that poor
Robo.
guy. That poor guy. He shows up at the gym 2 weeks ago, right? And I think I recognize him, but I don't know. I've been out of so I'm like, he's either a wrestler or a gym rat.
Right.
And on the side of caution, I decided, well, he's probably a gym rat. So I literally grabbed him and said, I have no idea what you know how to do. And he looked at me, he kind of laughed a little.
Yeah.
Like, no, really, I'm not around the scene, dude.
Yeah.
You know, I think I recognize you.
And did he say you met me 5 times or something?
I've probably never met him before.
Oh, okay.
And then, of course, I was probably confusing him with Nico,
yeah.
which got even worse because he worked at APW with him one night.
Yes, he did.
But that guy's a workout maniac. He's a bull.
He's come a long way too. I mean, he always had the great look. You know what I mean? But he picked it up pretty quick too. And I'll tell you, he's put on some really good matches in the last year.
The one he did with Nico.
At APW.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which was hard because they had basically 2 babyface matches in one night, which I don't know why they did that, but him and Nico went out and had probably the best match of the night. They
Oh,
really
absolutely.
did. And it was babyface, and there was a second one. There were a couple of things that would have changed that I saw, but I haven't even had a chance to talk to him afterwards, but it was very good.
A lot of people say he's signed to AEW. I don't know or not, but I know he's worked for them quite a bit.
He may.
You know, I know he's worked with them quite a bit. And like I said, usually, man, you look at the guy. When he comes out, you go, wow. Now that guy's, dedicated to his craft.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah. And we got other guys too. We got Cassius is coming up.
Yes.
He is. The only problem with training with Cassius, I want to really learn how to wrestle on the mat. I heard you know how to wrestle on the mat really well. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
All right, Cam, come on.
I actually forgot he was there. I thought he was up in Concord, or I would have brought him up a long time ago. He's a great kid, first of all, and he is pretty damn good, too.
He's the guy that moves the most like a wrestler out of everybody.
Yep.
I'm not saying he's ahead of anybody, but when he gets in the ring, he's not trying to do moves. He's trying to move like a wrestler.
Right.
That's his first objective, and it's when you do that, it's a lot easier to get the crowd very quickly.
Right.
Because you look like you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
My mother used to train horses, and she used to claim you can't train a horse or get the reaction you want from the horse if you're scared. And I think a crowd is the same way. If they can tell you're nervous, they kind of you're gonna have a rough night. You have to look confident. You have to look like you know what you're doing.
Right.
And Cam really looks like he knows what he's doing.
He definitely does.
Yeah.
Now his brother's there now too, right?
Yeah.
Do you know
I haven't
Keon?
Yes, but I haven't even had a chance to interact with him yet.
Oh, okay.
You know, like I said, I'm one night a week right now, and then
Right.
then shows when I can make them. You know, and I'm looking to add another night, but let's get my employment back first.
But I'd like to talk more about Cam because, like I said, I thought he was at the other school. Or I would have brought him up a long time ago.
He is, he's learns like that.
Right.
Learns like that.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm doing with the more experienced guys is I'm looking at them and, all right, what can you do that somebody else can't do? You know? And I remember the first night we went up there, they were just doing this little drill where it was just, guys would run into the ring and pin the guy, kick out, roll out. It would just keep going and going. So I said, all right, we're going to add to that. So I started screwing with it.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, so when you run in, the guy's seated. You run a cross body block. He's sitting down. I don't care. Hit him with the cross body block.
Right.
When he's seated there, when you go, you do a blockbuster while he's seated. You know, a blockbuster is a neck breaker. And then him, I had them all doing this like weird sit out clothesline. It's not Randy Savage used to do it all the time. Sit out clothesline. But now, all right.
Where he throws his feet up in the air as he's doing it.
Try it when somebody's seated. There's almost no room. There's no room for error.
Right.
So I tried to show him how to do it, and I kind of got it. And then Cam got it and just like, wham! Like, holy God, what an athlete. And now he pretty much does it every night.
Yep. I've seen some like different moves, like you said, like a cross body was always, off the ropes or whatever, or just, running and doing it. But now you're seeing a lot of the sit down ones. You got clotheslines, drop kicks. I mean, I've seen a lot of innovative stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's not stuff that looks like a car wreck either.
Right,
it's not stuff that takes 20 minutes to set up, which I hate.
Yeah.
Which will always discourage them.
Oh,
from
I
doing
can't stand that.
those,
Hey, everybody, get over here.
that dives where
Yeah.
that dive where everybody huddles up like a bunch of little chickens in a coop. I don't
Cornette
like
talks
that.
about that all the time.
Yeah.
Like, hey, come on, guys. Hey, wait, get over here.
If you could figure out a way to get it off fast and whoa,
That would be, that would
great.
be impressive.
Yeah. For the life of me, I will never understand why you would just stand there. And and when people tell me, well, that's wrestling, Mav, and
Right.
that's different. That's just a different way of doing it. Yeah, but it's also a crappy way of doing it.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that tope dive through the
Oh, I
ropes
don't mind
either.
it. I used to do that myself.
Too many of them,
If
though.
it doesn't
You know what
look
I
like
mean?
it's when it looks like it's so contrived,
Right.
when it looks like you literally sat there with like a football playbook and X, O, you're X, you're X,
Right,
you're
right.
X, I'm O. O is awesome because I'm going to the top rope and dive bombing 7 guys, but they spend 45 seconds organizing themselves so I can do it. No.
I think, didn't Ivar Hansen, that was his last injury, was the dive through, but I think he ended up with his leg or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But so it was the way he landed.
Yeah.
But I don't mind it. But do I have to see it in every match? Do I have to see when you're in a tag team match? The first guy's out, here comes this guy. Now they're both going to get up for the next guy.
Well, no. The only way
so
the only
sick
way to
of it.
effectively do that, Leo, is to make sure that you super kick all 5 people out of the ring at the same time. Do 10 super kicks to each person, so you get 50 super kicks in there.
Yeah.
They all land on different sides of the ring. Then they spend 12 minutes getting together while you spend 10 minutes climbing to the top rope and waiting there for 2 minutes while they get their act together, and then you jump on them. Yeah, that's what it seems like sometimes.
You just described a Young Bucks match. Honestly, I'm not big fans of those guys.
No.
I'm not. And I'm a Punk fan, first of all, too, even though I know he's a piece of crap. We both discussed that.
Yeah.
You had your moments, and I saw how he acted all those times. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, I'm not a fan of the Young Bucks. What do you think about all that situation? 38 seconds. What do you think?
It's a mess.
Yeah.
I think that sums it up well.
Right. Why don't you plug the address and everything for the school?
Hey, NEX-Gen Pro Wrestling. We're up on Elm Street in Manchester. If you want information on it, you can hit me right up on my Facebook. You can even email me at scottcdapre@gmail.com. I'd give you Bud's information. I don't have it handy.
Right.
Leo kind of surprised me with this one. But you can contact the school directly for the website.
And on Facebook.
Probably best to go through Bud if you can.
Hey, guys, check it out. Really, you should go up, check out the NEX-Gen Wrestling Center. Mav, thanks.
No problem.
All right, we're out. Peace.
Hi, guys. I hope you're enjoying the show. Listen, I could use a little help to grow my YouTube channel. So if you could please like, share, and subscribe. That's most importantly, subscribe. Send me a direct message, and I'll give you a shout out here on the show. My YouTube channel is real simple. It's just my name, Leo Connors. Thanks in advance. Peace.